Good afternoon. Hope that you have been hanging with us all morning. We are moving into our afternoon segment. I am Nsenga Burton, and I am the film curator for the Afro Comic Con International Virtual Film Festival for 2020. So, as we have been discussing earlier, we're going to have our judges segment in a second, but I hope that you got a chance to look at some of the fantastic films that we have been watching today. These were our finalists. We had a bunch of films, and then we narrowed it down, and then we had some semifinalists, and these were our finalists. Again, just to remind you what the films were: Outcast by Royce Atkins, The Dark Strums by Stephen Russell, Far from Casablanca by Youssef Rhonda, Seriously, The Problematic Time Transplant by Theo Hollingsworth, Backwards God by Natalie Cook, and last but certainly not least, What Could Have Been by Semi Cole. So these are the films that you should have watched recently on our Afro Comic Con YouTube channel, or you could watch on the Black Press USA YouTube channel as well. So now we are about to talk to our judges. And we're going to welcome them. Yes, two of our judges now. We have more judges than this, of course, but these are two of our fantastic judges who can join us today. Of course, you know Carlton Hargrove. He is a friend of Black Press USA and NMPA. He is a Black comic publisher, 20th Place.
20th Place Media.
Yep, 20th Place Media, and he publishes some fantastic comics. And then, of course, and he's also a writer and critic and all those wonderful things too. Editor, former editor-in-chief of Creative Loafing. And then, of course, we have Rhonda Penrice Rocha, who wrote the book on Black History for Dummies, but she also is literally one of the most prolific film critics in the country. She's a member of the African American Film Critics Association. She is a leader in that organization, and she has done a myriad of things, worked in film, also has written other articles, other books, and it's just really one of the premier, I think, one of the premier critics in the country, particularly because she writes for so many different outlets. And of course, she's outstanding as well. So anyway, welcome, Rhonda.
Thank you.
You tell them my friends too, I'm excited. I got some energy. Right. So we're going to talk
I need some caffeine, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I've been drinking caffeine all morning. Just guzzling. So pray for me that I can make it these next 2 hours.
Pace yourself.
Yes. All right, so let's talk. So before we get into the films, and our filmmakers are watching, our film finalists are watching. We hope everybody who submitted to the film festival is watching. But let's just kind of talk about this moment that we're in, particularly because this film festival is part of a larger con called Afro Comic Con that really focuses and centers Black creativity, Black creators, folks who are interested in technology, blurred culture, humor, comic books, superheroes, like everything con, but really centering and elevating voices from the African diaspora. Can you all talk about the importance of having a con like this, particularly in this political climate in which we're trying to survive, particularly in the U.S.?
Correct.
Who would like to start? Ladies first?
Right? The expert.
No, ladies first. Definitely ladies first. I'm not going.
Experts. That's why you were judges. But okay, Rhonda.
Well, I mean, you know, I think of a con as, you know, like an exchange of ideas and stuff. And what we are experiencing now, we definitely need like more innovative thinking, solution-driven things, and we need a reimagining. And that's what I think of as the con culture, is being able to reimagine what the status quo is and being able to envision something that's different and hopefully better.
Carlton, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, I don't totally remember the question all the way, but I will. I know you were talking about like speaking to the moment that we're in in terms of, you know, Black content, especially when it comes to like science fiction, horror, kind of genre content. And I really feel like for so long, it was only white creators, white television producers, movie producers, directors, writers were having the fun, they were having the fun with this world. And now I see us given sort of entry into it. We always had the stories. I mean, people like Octavia Butler have been around for a long time, but now the gates are being open and we are able to unleash all this stuff, our take on these same in the same genre world. So I think it's a great time. It's the question is, can we turn this moment into a movement that is sustained and also just increases? Because we're going to need more of this. You know what I mean? This is just, hopefully it's just the beginning.
Okay, very good. Yeah, and I think we have a lot of people have been doing this forever. I mean, Rhonda was talking about her friend from one of the definitive, I guess it would be the definitive works on a volume. Can you talk to us about that? And that was
Well, Carlton, Cherie Renee Thomas.
Yeah.
The editor of Dark Matter. And so, I mean, she's the first person over 20 years ago who told me who Octavia Butler was. And so to see where we are from that moment, Dark Matter published a lot of people. And also what Dark Matter did that you would appreciate, Nsenga, was it went back into the history annals and pulled out like even a story from W.B. Du Bois that could be in the speculative fiction realm to kind of speak to what Carlton just mentioned, that we've always had these ideas. This is not new. It's just having the access to a broader platform that's new. And so it's an exciting time to think of the kind of content that we are getting to partake in now, because I mean, just even, 20, even a decade ago, it was very desolate out here.
Yeah. Carlton?
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things, which can be seen with the films that we judge for this con, is that now you have people who are really kind of creatively getting over the constraints of budget to be able to create really high quality stuff. And a lot of that is the technology has sort of caught up with the ideas. So now you can do something like an Outcast for not millions and millions of dollars. I'm assuming his budget was not millions of dollars. If he did, man, can I get some money? But break me off. Right. So you hope that while you will have, big budget stuff like a Black Panther and a Lovecraft Country, you can now create this, science fiction, horror, stuff like that with smaller budgets. So, so that hopefully will give us more longevity and let way more people get into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I wanted to piggyback off of that. Like the quality of, just film submissions is just astounding across the board. And again, like the opening of the technology floodgates that really allowed people a cheaper mechanism in order to express themselves. And it's just been outstanding.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So what do you, and I totally agree with everything that you all are saying. And I mean, I think it's really an exciting time because we can see so many different stories. I mean, even with our submissions for the festival this year, there were a lot of different things. And I think it's very clear that the idea of what Afrofuturism is or Black speculative fiction looks like in film and TV is still kind of developing. Because some people, we couldn't accept their films because they didn't really fit the criteria. But you can, it's subjective in certain ways. I mean, we had, you all were the judges, we had criteria. But I was just thinking when I reflect back on the process, like, some of them it was kind of hard. Like, so I think that's also a good thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing in terms of the evolution of what it will look like and what it will be and how those stories will be told and what kind of counts and won't count and how the genre or the canon, the genre will form over the next 10 years or so. It'll be really interesting to watch as well.
Yeah. A lot of this stuff too is going to be incumbent on the growth of the fandom. So much of science fiction and all this other genre stuff is based on fandom. I mean, you have people who have the blueprints for the Star Trek Enterprise in their homes. You got people who know, every single name of every single Jedi. Along those lines, if you look at something like a Lovecraft Country, man, got into a lot of heated debates with people online about it.
We're gonna talk about it.
You know, so I see that people are having an investment in it, and they're starting to know the names and the histories. They read the book, and then they listen to podcasts, and then they read the syllabus. So that is, to me, the fandom developing, and that's what you really want to see, right? Because with every single intellectual property, you have a fandom that is crazy about it. You know what I mean? Who will destroy you if you say anything bad about it.
But this genre is, I mean, fandom is on another level. It's equivalent to sports fandom. And
Totally.
I don't think you have that in the general movie, TV culture. Like, this is...
No, you do. You know, especially on YouTube, Rhonda, what you found is now you have guys like John Campea and Collider, Schmoes Entertainment Network.
I meant in relation to, like, you know, non-genre, like average.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that you have the kind of... I think that this genre, when you talk about sci-fi, fantasy, horror, so forth, I think it's equivalent to sports fandom.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when we think about this rise, let's go ahead and get into this rise of Afro. And I'm doing like 12 million things. So if I look down, don't judge me. This is live. Here. But if when we talk about these things, one of the things I want to talk about is Lovecraft Country. And this is what I talked about with Tananarive Due, who we kind of kicked off the festival with today, film festival with today. But this idea of really, and she talked about using writing to work through traumas associated with different things she has experienced. That's kind of how she found her way to the genre. But there has been a lot of pushback against Black horror, whether it's Us or Lovecraft Country in some regards, because of what people call trauma porn. So where's the line? Like, what's the difference between what's exploitive and trauma porn, like people who like to see Black people in pain, versus people who are representing these horrible things, like in the at least pilot episode of Love Country, where we get to see that these horrible people, these segregationists, white supremacists, are the real monsters versus the monsters that we think about or have thought about over the course of literature and film and art and all of that. Yeah. Where's the line? Like, how do you?
I kind of feel like the audience is going to be the one who really determines it, because for me, it's about how much we dip into the same well and present that to audiences and what they receive. Because like in Lovecraft Country, you had the whole scene, the whole episode about the Tulsa riot massacre. And then in Watchmen, we also had that too. So, I know a lot of people, when they saw that, they were like, 2 things about Tulsa? I cannot believe this, So...
But yet we have a million Batman movies and other things. But when you
Holocaust movies and
historical,
stuff like that,
there can only be one.
Right. So I mean, but I think the audience is going to have to determine it. You know what I mean? But I do think if you're going to dip into the same well, you have to approach it from different perspectives and add a whole different light to it. Like a lot of people talked about this Antebellum movie, which came out recently. There's been a lot of criticism about it. It's like, and it wasn't exactly, I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but if you're going to dip into the well, you have to say, okay, what different thing can I say about this? Because it's a market with a lot of product.
Right.
So I think that people say that. And I'm just like, where are all these Black historical products you keep telling me that's out here? Because I watch Black stuff almost exclusively all day, every day. And when people go, oh, another one of those films. And I'm like, how? Like, you would think there are hundreds and hundreds of them. They are not. Here.
I mean, look, I don't think you need hundreds in order to be able to say there's a lot in the market. Like, we don't really get a lot of products with Black people in them, period, right? And starring roles. So then if you, in the course of 5 years, if you have 7 movies or 5 movies that touched on slavery, then people are going to be like, they're going to see the pattern because it's not a lot of, it's not a lot of the films, but per capita, you know what I mean?
But I'm like, one a year? That is like.
But how many movies we get a year, though, Rhonda?
That's the one that you have, though, right? So that's
what I'm saying. You get 2 black movies a year, and one of them is slavery.
So why isn't the discussion about, like, for me personally, because I watch a lot of independent films, I'm like, why is the discussion an anti-discussion instead of you digging into the independent well and talking about those films that do exist? Because there are lots of films out here that don't involve enslavement. There are lots of films out here that are not period pieces or whatever. And so you have people who are very prominent critics and stuff, and they monopolize their time talking about what doesn't exist when there is a great well of stuff that does exist, and they just need your attention.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, I think that you make a great point, Rhonda, and I understand your point, Carlton, because I think, what we're talking about is those films that become popular, right? That they break out of that Black independent well, or they're made in dominant, or what I would call as a critic, dominant mainstream Hollywood systems, right? So of course, I shouldn't say of course, but there's a high probability likelihood that they're going to touch on things that we may not, things like slavery or what have you, that we might want to see more of in different ways or less of in different ways. But what I think I hear both of you saying, and I don't think you're disagreeing, I just think you're on the different sides of the same argument, is that there is definitely a need for more of this genre, more films that work in this genre. But in the meantime, that there is an independent Black film and television, I would argue, and web series, if you talk about what's going on the web and YouTube and all of that, that actually exists. And so to not ignore that, because we elevate that which happens within the context of Hollywood higher than those that are being produced in other ways, even in this film festival.
And we have to differentiate between race films and Black films because there's a difference.
Right. Totally. I mean, in that respect, Lovecraft Country
tell the difference for our viewers.
Well, a lot of times, I mean, one of the things that you see Lovecraft straddling, even when you look at the reviews of it. So when you look at the reviews of Lovecraft, the racial horror dominates the thematic discussions of it in the mainstream press. Whereas when you go on the Lovecraft groups, people are concerned about the interpersonal relationships between the people. They are, there are other storylines that do not center around just race. And a lot of the product that we get from Hollywood, for example, when you talk about a slave movie, more than likely it is focused solely on the brutality and, more than likely the white person attacking the Black person. And then there's no perspective given. There's no Black perspective given. There's no communication of the fact that in actuality, lots of people thought it was wrong and stood up and tried to get their own freedom. But you never see that kind of agency. So I think a lot of what we've been subjected to are race movies and not Black movies.
Interesting. Interesting distinction. You should write more about that, Rhonda. I know you've written about it, but I want you to write more about it because that's important. All right, so let's talk about these films. And before we get into the films of the festival, I just want to remind people that there is an audience award that we will be giving. So my producer has stepped away. But there is a Survey Monkey link that is out in the stratosphere. You can see it on any social media that we have, whether it's Black Place USA or Afro Comic Con. You can go to my stuff, Intellectual, or the Bird Wire on Twitter. Please go and vote for your favorite because we're going to close that at 2:15 and announce them with the winners. And so please vote. If you watch the films, vote. And then if our filmmakers are watching, make sure that everybody who watched voted for their favorite film. All right, so let's talk about these films that were in the festival this year. Thoughts, themes, what you got?
Yeah, I really enjoyed them. Of course, there were some I enjoyed more than others, but I enjoyed it. I thought, like I said at the top, it's about how do they deal with their creative constraints. You know, how do they deal with lack of money, lack of resources to be able to put, you know, together something really good. And I think what I was most really impressed by was even the writing. I thought it was really strong what some of them were able to do with such a small amount of time with story, you know, pack a lot of world building and mythology into like a few minutes. So I was really impressed by that. So I enjoyed the films, especially there was this one that was like the guy who went back in time.
Seriously, the funny one.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah,
I mean, I could see that on like television. I could see it on Comedy Central or something like that. You know what I mean? It's the way it was shot. Everything, they did really good with what they had.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's I mean, I shouldn't say the funny one because there were lots of different.
Right.
But that one worked, and it
worked very well. Yeah.
And yeah, I was giggling, and every time I watch it, because you know I've seen all of them like 20 times. I watch it, I do giggle and laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think Carlton also hits on something that is kind of a misconception now because of all the special effects and so forth. But it's always started with the story. You don't have people out here fanatical over special effects. For most people that are in this genre who are writing hard for it, it started with the story. It was the initial spark for people to be able to imagine things that were outside of themselves, but also to kind of like a lot of this genre is about being an outsider, and that has helped a lot of people. I mean, I know that when I've spoken, I think when I spoke to Winston Duke, he was one of the people who, when he came to the United States, he read comics, and that kind of, you know, helped him. And I think a lot of people really relate to the whole outsider perspective and dealing with who you are. And if we look at a lot of this genre, it's very trauma filled.
Yeah.
And you know, so I wasn't surprised. For me, even though the technology is better, it always starts with the idea. And one of the things that was impressive about this slate of films for this film festival is the diversity of it. It was like all of these selections that people have watched thus far, they are all very kind of thematically different. They are in different time periods. Some people are going to the past. Some people are very much in the future. Some people are in the present. I mean, they're just different modes in which people deal with the subject matter. And that is what's most promising, that people are really not being derivative, not being copycat, because I think in the past we had a lot of that.
Yeah, no, I would totally agree with you. You know, the storytelling, I think, has been very strong. And also, like, what I like or appreciated about the particular set of films we received this year, and there was one film that we really struggled about because it really was a social justice film.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't quite fit into the genre, but it was really well done in many ways. But I do like the social justice elements that are still weaved throughout these stories. You know, whether you talk about Outcast, because you know, or you know, Backwards Guide, or you know, there's just these elements of equality, like you know, people fighting for equality, people fighting to be seen and to be heard. And struggling, you know, when it is trauma, but struggling to really kind of rise above all of these kind of external factors that really limit our movements as people, you know, in general. You have to do so much to transgress any type of boundary in our society. And so I thought these films did a really good job. Definitely the finalists did a great job of really demonstrating that kind of struggle, but also kind of overcoming those kinds of struggles too. And I think everybody loves a redemption story, or you know,
I think that's intrinsic in this genre. I mean, Carlton is more ingrained in it than I am, but I think this whole sense of right and wrong has really dominated. I mean, I think it's at the heart and the core of what has driven this genre. And then, like, a lot of times, even with the villains, their backstories, you know, if we're talking about like the superhero aspect of things, their backstories point to things that have happened to them that have driven them to this darkness and so forth. And so I think I'm not surprised by the social justice elements of it, because I think it's at the core of the genre.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't surprised. I'm just saying I love that about these particular films that are in here, because even though they're different, and they are some very different stories, I think all 6 of the films are just very diverse. They have that in common in this particular group of films. So I wasn't, if I said the genre, I didn't mean to intimate that. It is definitely, social justice is part of Afrofuturism. Like, that is what, Octavia Butler is pushing, and Delaney and John Jennings, if you look at his work, his graphics, it's a lot of that. But in these particular films, I loved how, like, even just watching them, you just kind of see that, you can see it moving and working in that way. What else, when you're thinking about, let me ask you as judges, because I think I want to use this time also to give people feedback, or people who might be interested in submitting to film festivals. What are you all looking for? What do judges really look for when you agree? Because I know you've been judges at other festivals too, but when you agree, like, what are the things that make a film stand out to you or really speak to you when you're judging?
I think for myself, I'm looking for something that I can connect with. Not necessarily to something that I've lived or whatever, but I'm looking for you to find a way to connect me with your characters. Like Rhonda was saying, look, at the end of the day, I don't care if this is science fiction or horror or whatever. You still got to have a story with human beings, and even if they're from another planet, give me a sense of humanity that I can connect with. That's kind of the bottom line for me. I'm looking for a connection with the people, with the characters.
How about you, Rhonda?
I mean, the same thing. I mean, you're always, if something grabs you immediately, I mean, a short film, you only have so much time. So it's important, like, you don't have the luxury of going on forever to establish key things. So it's important that you have a story that grabs someone immediately, and that you have clarity in your story. That, like, that it really makes sense, and you're not just trying to meet the time count, that you are telling a complete story. And stories, the time of a story span can vary greatly. So, everything is just like a short story is not a novel, and then you have series. So you have to know how to really economize that time. And for a lot of the films that come on this stage, they are a portion of a larger vision. And you have the filmmakers very much, I think a lot of them want to make a feature film. So you have to really, like, sit down and see what element of that story can you present in a short form to bring people in and make them want to even see the larger story. And for those people who this is the one-shot deal for it, again, you just have to make sure that you are telling a complete story.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And how is the what are your thoughts on the technical aspects? Because I know we've become more forgiving with streaming and YouTube and all of those things that are really like people the new streaming, and I've kind of been doing it for like 25 years, but I think we've become more forgiving, so to speak. But what do you think, like, when you enter a film into a film festival, things like sound and the cinematography and things of that nature, to what extent should people be paying attention? I mean, filmmakers, but you know what I'm saying? Like, to what extent does that weigh in? Like, would story override that if it was like crappy sound, or it looked like, it looked terrible? Like, tell me your thoughts on that. Because some people.
Go ahead, Carlton.
No, you go ahead. Rhonda, you go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, but I think that what's happened is, someone who's been going to film festivals a long, long time, I think the technical aspects of film submissions has just grown by leaps and bounds. I'm like, absolutely impressed. You know, even in this festival, I mean, we have some very, very strong cinematography.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the visual language is just it's been as key as the storytelling. So, I mean, there are definitely things that, you know, people work out, especially maybe with the special effects and so forth. But as far as people nailing lighting, being able to hear the films, like the basics, I think that that's never been stronger.
You know, piggybacking off the special effects subject that you brought up, Rhonda. You know, I think, and this is not I mean, you never can make rules about these kind of things, but I really find the movies that I'm more drawn to are the in terms of these short films. I'm drawn to the ones that use special effects like sparingly, because if your budget is small, you may not be able to make Lord of the Rings. You know, so you might as well. You might just want to.
We're not able to take
You're wrong.
You might want to pull back a little bit. Just you know, put all your money into like a few major effects, you know, to augment your story, which should be strong, and augment the characters who you really should have a handle on, you know. So that's all I'm saying is like, and I think the films, the finalists for sure did that. Nobody was trying to make Black Panther Part 2. You know what I mean? And even the people that did do kind of the Blade film, I mean, they really said, okay, we're not gonna be able to do a martial arts battle, you know, so what can we do?
Well, they felt more intense.
Someone who looks just like Blade.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah, right. Exactly. It was like you said, it was more of an internal, you know, battle, or more of a battle of wills instead of a battle of, you know, karate champions. You know what I mean? So that's smart.
You don't have to actually fight.
It helps.
Right. I mean, you know, you have to show us what he could look like, but you got to fight with the words first, and then
you don't want to be Dolomite.
With that budget, you can do that whole bring out fight scene that you've been like playing in your dreams.
Well, I mean, that's what I think was good about Outcast, because that fight scene was very well choreographed.
No, that was good. That was good. Yeah.
For a film, a short film, I said, okay, here we go with the choreograph.
That's right.
So I appreciated that as well. Something else I want to ask you about: what are some of the film festivals? So people who are, let's just say, because this is a short film festival, what are the ways in which people now are using short films? Because, you know, when we were coming up, short film was kind of like just like your entree. It's like, hey, I did this short film. Now can I make it into a feature, and can you give me money to do it? Or I'm going to raise money to do this. But what are the different ways in which people are using short films? Like, if you're not going to enter it into a festival, a film festival, what are the other things that you can do with it? You know, whether it's to just get exhibition or to make money. Like, do you all have any suggestions?
Rhonda, this is all yours. I'm gonna let you
Well, I don't know how people make money. I mean, Quibi was going to be that outlet. So
Quibi,
yes. Oh my God. 6 months later, like all those billions of dollars, man. Oh my, and I love Free Ray Sean, hashtag free Sean, was so good. Did you all watch that, Free Ray Sean?
No, but did you see the show with the florist, the floral dude? What was it? The guy who was the florist.
Yes.
That is a good show, and he is hilarious. Okay, I'm telling you that, like that and Reno 911.
Oh yeah,
that's why.
Quibi had lots of content. I'm sorry, I need to get some water.
Okay, you can step out if you want. I mean, we're
gonna get back because I actually have a lot to share.
Okay.
Well, I'll talk in the meantime.
In the meantime, all right. So,
in the meantime,
like, what film festivals should people be know about? Should people be sending their stuff into?
Yeah, like well, like I was saying, Rhonda is really the expert when it comes to film festivals. Like, I gotta be real, but I mean, you know, of course, Atlanta has Bronze Lens, and I mean, there are African American film festivals out there. Rhonda, I think, may be able to speak more to like genre. Rhonda, are there a lot of genre specific like Black film festivals or film festivals?
I mean, they are we're seeing them emerge. So, gosh, I don't know what happened to me, guys. You guys talked me out of a voice here.
Impossible.
I was like,
I think that the more we're seeing more of these efforts, grassroots efforts, and people are coming together. And as we speak of technology, like being able to do this virtually. So we're going to see more. So, I mean, but we have, like New York does a kind of Afro Comic Con. You see them regionally throughout the country.
Yeah, I saw a bird festival the other day, which I think is going on now. So I didn't write about it, but
nobody
hater just just thing right now. But
Atlanta does one too, Onyx Con.
Yeah, and there's Seattle has a great short film festival, and then there's Short Fest, and there's like other places. So, we want to encourage people to continue to submit your films. A lot of film festivals do have limitations on how old the film can be and how many film festivals that they've played in. So make sure that you adhere to those guidelines because you don't want to spend your money to apply and then get kicked out.
Right.
On technicalities.
Technicality, that's right. And
also, I think that when we talk about pioneering the short film space, like, Black film festivals and regional film festivals have been the leaders in this space because oftentimes, these are the groups that don't have those kinds of resources. And so, and as people's attention spans are getting shorter, but also because of the technological innovations, I think that people are able to accomplish a lot in a short period of time. And so, I think, people are getting better. You got the lighting people looking for the directors, and you've got the actors, and you got producers. So I think that you have a growing you have these growing forums and networks where people can hook up with each other. And the way that you make it to the big leagues, before you run a marathon, you got to learn how to run. So you got to walk, then you run, and so forth. So a short film is just how to run. And when you really think about what you've been subjected to on television, a lot of it really is short form, because if you grew up watching a 30-minute show, it's really a 15-minute show. Same commercials. So
okay, well, we got some comments from people. We're gonna wrap with you all in about 2 minutes, about 2:10-ish, so that we can get to our winners, announcing our winners. But there was somebody who said that there hasn't been a lot done on Tulsa, but I would encourage you to watch the latest episode or the last episode of Lovecraft Country, because that whole episode is about the Tulsa massacre.
And Watchmen too.
Episode 9.
And I was gonna say
Watchmen definitely Watchmen is weaved throughout. So.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Exactly. So that goes with the number, because we're like, we need 2, but they exist. So
one.
And then before that,
we're like, it's 2. It ain't that much, but it's a lot, because
it was the same network too, within within
a year. And you're just like, but see, those things for a lot of people, like for me, I've known about Tulsa for a long time, but lots of people have never heard of it.
I'm very happy. I have no problem with them doing Tulsa. There's some things I think are fine to ape off of, necessarily. And I don't think these two things knew about each other. You know what I mean? Because it's like a book and a comic is like, So anyway, I'm very happy about that, because there were a lot of people that I know of many different races who are like, what? Did that really happen? Yes, it happened. It happened. It was one of many. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think also somebody was saying they didn't know how to watch the film festival. If you go to the Afro Comic Con YouTube channel, you can watch it there. You can actually still watch today if you haven't had a chance. You can't vote anymore. The voting is closing. What time is it? In 1 minute. So anybody who's trying to vote for your own, you better figure it out, because we're closing it up, because we got to get our winners on here and show them they deserve, and let them know what their prizes and awards are going to be. Thank you to Jay Washington for jumping on, and Tia and Maya for watching, and Alexis, because I know she's watching. That's my bestie.
Okay.
Cindy, you better be watching too. But, let me call out all my people. I know my parents aren't, because they're not impressed by stuff that I do, but they just want me to take care of myself and take out the trash and do.
Have you been to church? That's what my parents always ask me. Have you been to church? It's like, I'm the first Black editor of it all. Have you been to church?
Yeah, whatever.
Keep you grounded.
Yes.
Oh, they keep you real grounded.
And you know that you're really doing it because you want to do it. Nobody's pushing you.
You're right about that. People ask your parents what they do for a living. He work with computers. In
defense of Black parents.
I love my parents.
We're still trying to have them to explain and justify doing it. They don't understand.
Because we're the pioneers, right? Just like these filmmakers. We're going places that I didn't know anybody who was an editor in Gary, Indiana when I was coming up. I'm sure there was some, because we had a few papers, but I didn't know any. So that was not like something I will be an editor, just like, so, we're pioneers, just like these great filmmakers.
Yeah. I'm sorry. We want to bring it back to the filmmakers. So any parting words to our filmmakers, who we will show so much love to. We're so proud and thankful that you submitted and allowed us to screen your films. Any parting words from our judges, our illustrious judges?
Keep up the good work.
And I was saying, building off of what Carlton just said, I said people know now that you can be a filmmaker, that you can create work and be a prolific TV producer. I don't think that these are 20, 30 years ago. I just don't even think that this was fathomable to most people. And now it's like, I can really do this. And there's an opening for it. It's like a bona fide career path.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us. I'm trying to see if my producer is back, because I want to announce the winners, but I guess we could do it together as the judges and then invite our winners.
Let's do
it. Drum roll. Okay, and now if you get dropped out, don't talk about me. All right. That's all right. So let me because I got my press release ready. So let me do it so I don't mess up. All right. So just again, I just wanted to remind people of the fabulousness of the films. Again, we had, in no particular order, Seriously, The Problematic Time Transplant by Theo Hollingsworth, Backwards God by Natalie Cook, What Could Have Been by Semi Cold, Outcast by Royce Atkins, The Dark Strums by Stephen Russell, and Far From Casablanca by Youssef Rhonda. And so we had 3 categories this year. And the categories were Best Film, Best Director, and Best Cinematography. So we're going to start with Best Cinematography. And our Best Cinematography winner is Far From Casablanca, directed by Youssef Rahman. That is a film from Morocco. And we do have a second place winner in that category. Now, we weren't going to do second place winners, but we do have a second place winner because the numbers, because we had a point system, it was like 1/100th of a difference between them. So we have Stephen Russell's The Dark Strums came in second place. So we're excited about that. Let's give him a hand. Yes. All right. So I know Stephen is going to be here. I'm not sure. I'm hoping Youssef will join us too. For Best Film, everybody, of course, was up for that one. And our winner was or is Outcast by Royce Atkins. We're excited about that one. Yeah.
I like that one. That was mine.
And Coquin for Best Film, that 1/100. Steven, we're sorry, but you've been like 1/100. Steven is the second place Best Film winner for The Dark Strums as well. And then, of course, we have, we'll wait for our top award, which is Best Director. And that was just clear. There was no, it was clear based on the judges' responses. But our audience award winner, let me see. Boom, 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 boom. We have What Could Have Been by Simi Cole.
Ooh.
Yes, that is the audience award winner. Yay! And that was from a Survey Monkey that we did, and people who watched and who voted. You can only vote one time, so it wasn't like, when you get your friend in.
Yeah, that was a good one.
So What Could Have Been by Simi Cole is the audience award winner. And then we have Best Director, and the Best Director winner is absolutely Royce Atkins. He was the pick from our judges. So that's what we have. So let me tell you what your prizes are going to be. And I'm going to go to my producer. Let me text my producer because I want to bring the winners in. And announced the winners. So we need to bring them in. What is that? What does that sound?
Oh,
There's Natalie Cook. Okay, Natalie Cook is a finalist. Hold on, we gotta wait. Because we don't have enough space for everybody. We only can have 6 people on at a time. Judges, bring in the winners.
well, how was this experience for you, Natalie?
I'm just very excited to be included, honestly.
We don't have enough space for everybody. We only have 6 people on at a time. All right, so we're gonna drop out. I'm sorry, one quick. We're gonna drop out our judges. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Thank you for great work.
Thank you.
Well, how was this experience for you, Natalie?
Okay, so Natalie, do you, is that my sound? Or is that you?
I can't hear.
Hi.
Hi, Youssef. Thank you.
Hi.
He's our winner for our best
Thank you
cinematography.
very much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you very much.
You're welcome. Hold on one second. We're gonna try to get these other folks in here. So just give me a second.
Okay, sure.
So Natalie, we wanted people to meet our finalists as well. Interesting. All right, so we're waiting for Royce and Simi and Royce, Simi, and we have Youssef and Steven. Steven was backstage. I'm not sure where he is. But let me talk to Natalie first. So Natalie, your film was, you were the only woman represented in the festival. How long have you been making films?
Technically since high school, but I began seriously in 2016.
Okay. And what was your motivation behind this film, Backwards Guide? Like, what inspired you to make that film?
Yeah, my background is in poetry, so before I began primarily focusing on film, poetry was my entire life. And I wanted to take this poem that I wrote and transcend it off the page. And the poem came from a lot of experiences of actually having to deal with sexual harassment on a daily basis for a period of 5 months. And it was very, very troubling, to say the least. And so that was the inspiration behind this film, to basically, just to shed light on patriarchy, even though like it's very obvious, but that was the inspiration.
Okay. Yeah, because we're in a whole Me Too movement moment now in society. And so I thought it was just so timely. When did you start making that film though? Like when did you write it and direct it?
Well, it all just flowed out naturally. So I wrote the poem in 2014, but I wrote the script in 2019. And the script just came out in like 10 minutes, I guess, because the poem had been in my body for so long, that the visuals were able to just come out with ease. And so I wrote the script in the beginning of 2019, and I filmed it in May of 2019.
Okay, fantastic. So what else are you working on? What's next? What projects are you going to continue doing film, or are you going to do poetry? I mean, I know you're a poet. You obviously are a poet, but what are your plans going forward after this?
Thank you for asking. You know, I tried to transition from being a poet to filmmaker, and that was so hard for me. And once I realized that I'm both and I can be both at the same time, that's when I felt free. So I, yes, absolutely continue to be a filmmaker forever. And right now I've written a script for a short film called The Memory of Soil. It's about a character who is doing her research in school on transgenerational epigenetic inheritance, and it's the study of how trauma is stored in the DNA and passed down. And so she's studying that in the context of her own family history, because her great-grandparents were lynched. And so it's basically like a horror art house film that looks at how trauma is passed down through the DNA in the context of lynching.
Oh, wow. So you're gonna, so this is interesting, because I just talked to Natalie Cook about that, like this whole idea of trauma and working through trauma through this particular genre, which of course is endemic to the genre, but that sounds fascinating. So what's your timeline? What do you think is going to be done?
The goal is for production to wrap in 2021. That's the goal. Trying to figure out how to do that during the pandemic. And I would like to release it in 2022.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Natalie, for joining us. I'm going to talk to Youssef now. So we just kind of rotating people in and out, if you don't mind. So our producer is probably going to exit you, or if you can. Yeah. Okay. But thank you so much, Natalie. And to the judges, I forgot to say thank you to the judges. Now I get to talk to Youssef. Yes. Youssef, you are our Best Cinematography Award.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You hear me well?
I'm sorry.
You hear me well?
Yes, yes. Okay. And Youssef also is our only representative, international representative from Morocco. So we were very happy to have your film included. It's a beautiful film. Can you tell us, like, how, what did you do? How did you shoot the film? Like, give me the idea. Like, how did the film come about? And then we'll talk about the cinematography. But how did the film come about?
Okay, well, the fact is that I come from animation, so I didn't study in film school or something else. So I started the film with a storyboard. I storyboarded the whole thing, and but when we got on the shooting, then I discovered that I can't do all what I storyboarded there. So there was the problem of wanting control over the thing, since animation, you storyboard everything, you make an animatic, and you do the thing like you storyboarded it before. And I got to learn how to manage and how to adapt to have a result with what I shot and what I could film, because I had in the reality, the expectations meet the reality. You have problems while filming this. The film didn't have a budget, so you got, for example, a location. You come the day where you are shooting, it's no more available, things like this. So the thing took much time, like 4 years for a short movie, a 20 minutes short movie, which is a lot.
Yes.
So that's it.
Oh my God!
But we tried the maximum to do something correct and to do something maybe new, and to adapt also. And the thing is that I worked with very talented team also. We were like 5 or 4 persons doing like everything, and we were also the fact that we were friends also made the thing flow like this. So
that's wonderful. Okay, so what I have to announce one of our sponsors. Unlimited Wireless is one of our sponsors, and they're actually going to give something to all of the finalists, and they're going to give a special gift to you as well, Youssef. But we're also going to give you a $500 cash award as the winner of the Best Cinematography award, and you also, of course, get a trophy, which we're sending to you all the way to Morocco.
Thank you very much.
Yes, the shipping cost is more expensive than the trophy, but you are worth it, and your work is worth it. So we are so thankful and so grateful that we got an opportunity to see your film, and we would love to see some of your other work as you go forward. What are you working on now? What are you doing now? Well,
now I work on motion design and editing for a studio. I'm managing my time to work on some personal projects before I restart working on another short movie.
And will it be set in Morocco or Casablanca? Like, where do you think it's going to be set? It's going to be
what? Sorry.
Where's the next film going to be set? Will it be set in the same location?
I don't think it will be. The location won't be important. I think I'd start this time with the dialogue because I didn't do any dialogue on the film. Yeah. So maybe it's time to reverse the thing.
Okay. And what kind of story? Can you tell us what kind of story are you going to tell? Like, what is it about? Do you want to give us any of it? Anybody?
Well, I don't have a precise idea, right now. I'm just having thoughts and ideas and noting them and stuff. So, but I think a little short movie in natural paysage. Well, in nature, like a home, a little house, and anyway,
right.
The idea is not even clear for me. So,
okay. But you are going to continue working in film. You are going to continue working in film, right? All right. Well, thank you so much. We will be contacting you via email so that we can make sure we get your stuff to you. And we will be sending out the awards very soon. And Unlimited Wireless will be sending the stuff directly to you and shouting you out on IG, Instagram. So thank you so much for participating. And I'm going to go through and announce the other award winners and what they'll be doing in terms of prize.
Thank you very much. And thanks for the prize.
Okay. Yeah. You're welcome.
Okay.
All right. So let's talk about them. All right, because Stephen Russell, I think, was backstage at one point. I'm not sure what happened to Stephen. So we're just going to go ahead and announce. Oh, there's Royce. Yeah.
Oh, hey.
Hey, Royce.
How you doing?
Congratulations.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you. Wow, I was not expecting that at all.
Yes, best film and best director. Woo-hoo! So I got to tell you again. We got Unlimited Wireless, which is on IG, which is ultimate wireless. Don't kill me, Damon. Don't kill me. Ultimate Wireless, ultimate_wireless_LLC on IG. They're going to give you a special prize because you're a top winner. You're also going to get a $750 cash award.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. The Burton Wire is giving you a year subscription to Masterclass so that you can take a Masterclass with Spike Lee or whatever filmmaker that you would like to have and make use of that subscription. So
wow, yeah, that is amazing. Thank you so much. Wow.
Like that. So we just are really excited. So tell us, like, what prompted you to make this this film, to make Outcast?
Yeah, a couple things. Big lover of sci-fi. And I had asthma when I was a kid. And one of the things was that, especially back then, people who had asthma, they were always depicted as the weakling, the nerd. all that stuff. And, you know, besides, you know, I was a nerd, you know, I love comics and all that stuff, had the glasses, but, you know, I felt like, you know, we were always just kind of like at the, you know, at the bottom as far as how that's perceived. And especially like, you know, growing up Black and being a nerd, when, you know, being Black, like you were already kind of just like ostracized from the world, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So ever since I was little, just that thought kind of played in my head of like, you know what, that would be so dope if there was just this super cool superhero that like had asthma and like fought through it and all that stuff. So that thought stayed with me. And then I eventually got the opportunity to write the story. It kind of just came together. I kind of figured out how to do it, and put it together, and then was able to shoot it.
Oh, fantastic. So, yeah, because when I first watched the film, I thought COVID.
Oh,
right. I was like, oh my God, this is a superhero. The superhero has COVID. Like, that's what
right. That would actually be interesting. I did this a little bit before COVID hit, but that's a premise too. I like that.
Yeah. And then I was looking, I said, oh, I think it's asthma. But yeah,
right.
but yeah, this idea of this person who's human and has superhero qualities, but is so human that they have to fight over these, you know, these human ailments in order to transgress these kind of boundaries that are put in place for this particular character. I thought it was great. I loved, and one of our judges, Booker T. Matheson, loved your fight scene. Tell me, how did you choreograph that, and how many times did you do it? And give me
So I have to give a huge shout out to my stunt choreographer, Brendan Hewer, who came up with everything, how it was all going to be, how it was all going to play out. In the script, I had it kind of written out. I like to get as detailed as I can with like fight scenes and stuff. So I had it written out how I wanted it to go, how I wanted the beats to move, things like that. Showed it to him, and then he was able to bring that to life, and even more so. And another huge shout out to my main actor, Guy De Silva, who is just a beast. He is a monster. And if you guys don't know, he's actually was the stunt double for Chadwick Boseman on Black Panther. So yeah, so this guy, he is the real deal. And he was just able to, like, him and Brennan got together, and they were just able to figure it out pretty quickly, because we had to move, like we had to shoot everything. I think we really only ended up having just like a few hours to do that whole fight scene. Because like setup and all that stuff, it took a while. We were on such a tight schedule that we really just had to go in there, shoot it, and get out. And thankfully, you know, everybody was able to perform really well. And that's pretty much kind of like how it came together. It was just like a full collaboration. This was actually my first action kind of sequence that I've done before. It was more still sci-fi genre, but more on like the drama aspect. So this was my first time. So I learned a lot from watching them and kind of like figure out the proper lingo and how they work and the best practices to shoot a fight sequence, you know, as far as like respecting the actors and the stunt people involved, and making sure they are well taken care of, because it's easy to kind of fall into, especially with someone like Guy, who's so talented and can do all this stuff on his own. It's easy to fall into those traps of like, oh yeah, just go out, one more take, just do what you could do it, right? Just keep going, you know. So really just understanding that balance of like, all right, I know you're capable of doing this, but I still have to, you know, treat you as a human being, as an actor, and make sure you get the rest that he needs and all that stuff. And collaborate again with my stunt choreographer and all that to make sure that the full vision is coming together. So it was great. It was a lot of fun, super stressful just because of the time constraints, but a lot of fun. And I'm really happy with how it came out.
Fantastic. So last question, what did you want your viewers to get? What do you want audiences to get from second to last question. What do you want the audience to get from this film?
I would say probably just the biggest thing is just, you know, to never be counted out, and no matter what, you know, ailment you may have, even though society might say, oh, you're not good enough to do this, you're not right for this. You know, just kind of like still finding that self-worth within yourself to be like, all right, well, cool, I have this problem, but that doesn't mean that I can't reach my goals and I can't do the things that I want to do. And so with Outcast, asthma was definitely one. That was kind of like the physical thing, and the kind of like the more like deep backstory, which I didn't get to dive too much to in the short, but like his character also is an orphan, and so being a part of this program, that was kind of like the first family that he had. Because there's a line in there when she pretty much is like, "All right, you're done." You know, he's like, "Don't leave me," and that was kind of like the first moment of like having a family and kind of losing it, and still, you know, so he was pretty much getting rejected, you know, in two ways in a sense. So it's like even with people kind of having those problems, being whether it's being rejected by friends, family, what have you, or being looked down upon for whatever ailment you have, to still find that self-worth to keep going on, and that you can overcome any obstacle as long as you put your mind to it.
Fantastic. And what's next for you, Royce? What are you working on?
Well, right now, as far as Outcast goes, I am working on expanding it into a feature because I would love to keep this story going. Also, I actually make comic books as well, and I'm actually working on this one comic book where I'm almost done with the first issue. Well, the first issue's done, but it's called Legend of Althea, and I'm working to kind of ship this out to people soon. But it's about this girl named Althea who has a artificial heart transplant. And because of that, she gets the ability to heal people. So again, sci-fi, fun.
Oh, yes, I love it. Yes. Well, thank you so much. To our audience, this is our best director, best film, Outcast, 2020 Afro Comic Con International Virtual Film Festival. So thank you so much, Royce. We're going to bring in Stephen Russell.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. And you're welcome. And Royce, if you're still watching, Alice, who's done a fantastic job, is going to be contacting you so that you can get your awards.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you. All righty. So without further ado, we have Stephen Russell. Stephen, where's the camera? I need to see you. Where are you?
Oh, sorry. I'm just like not in the ideal area right now. My house is packed, so I'm like.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Well, congratulations to Stephen Russell. The Dark Strums. I mean, you know, I call it in my head, that Robert Johnson sci-fi tale. Yes. And thank you. You are obviously going to be getting awards for the second place best director and best film. I'm sorry, and best cinematography. And you're also going to get a gift certificate to B&H Photo. So you can
nice.
Buy some more equipment. And then, of course, our sponsor, Ultimate Wireless, is going to send you some gifts as well. So you're going to be well taken care of. But tell me,
thank you.
Yeah, how did you come up with this idea for this story?
Oh, wow. I came up with the premise. Like I had I was toying with the idea of an artist playing music that was kind of like evoking that could kind of like evoke a spirit. So I was kind of playing with the bones and structure of that story for a while. I would start to write the story, and then I was like, it's not really going anywhere. I didn't have anything to really ground it in. And then after a while, I kind of remembered the mythology of Robert Johnson. And in exploring that, it gave me a more solid story to kind of base a short film off of. You know, the myth itself is pretty short, so I was just like, all right, let me explore this a bit more, and I kind of cross-referenced it with his reality, like things that actually happened during his lifetime, the things that kind of birthed the mythology. So it was like because originally he was looked at as a great musical artist. Like people used to actually almost boo him. You know, like he was when he would come around, people would be like, "Oh, get this guy off the stage," because he was just looked at as like a terrible artist. And once he disappeared for a year and reemerged as this innovative guitar player, all the speculation started to arise, and there was also things that he did that like kind of felt a little spooky, like he used to I think out of embarrassment and just to get some just to play in a place without any distractions, he used to practice in the graveyard. So people would hear this music coming from graveyards, and so there's like little things like that started to add to his mythology. So it was like all these things started to align up to create this mythology. I tied that into, art, an artist feeling like they're not getting their just due. And I kind of like fused it all together to kind of create this to like, give a new life to this mythology.
Okay. Well, I mean, you did it well. The film was enjoyable. It was interesting. It looked beautiful. Like, what were you thinking when you decided, or when you were determining what the style and what it would look like? And how did you create that look?
What I was thinking of was, I initially wanted to start the film off as romantic as possible to kind of give like this full sense of security to the audience. As they're watching it, I kind of wanted them to like slowly realize that it's turning into a horror film. But as soon as it starts, I wanted it to be immersed in like something that was kind of like romantic. I wanted to portray Robert Johnson as how I would think a blues player would be, a kind of suave guy, a traveling man. The only other time I've seen a depiction of him was in "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?"
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't it wasn't Robert Johnson, but it was definitely playing on Robert Johnson. It was the black musician who met the devil at the crossroads, and
Mm-hmm.
but even in that film, like his character was like really timid. But to me, it's like if you're these are the rock stars of their time almost, so to me it's like him kind of being like this guy going around drinking. He has beautiful women, and it's like so I kind of wanted to like draw into like that 1930s aesthetic, lean into that heavily,
Mm-hmm.
and then bringing it towards modern times. um just wanted to I wanted to feel a little bit grand at times, like the birthday boy scene.
Yes.
um really big open space, really great architecture, just trying to add to the cinematography. We tried to stick to browns, greens, and blues as far as like the color palettes, try to keep that consistent throughout the film as well. So yeah, it was really starting it off as romance, but having like this underlying tone of horror at the same time.
Mm-hmm. So what do you have coming up? What's next for you? Because this film is beautiful and amazing. So you
Uh,
got like, what are you doing?
I mean, as of right now, not anything. I've developed the dark strums more as a story, so that in case somebody does come along, they're like, like this film, I'd like to fund it to turn into a feature.
Mm-hmm.
I'm prepped for that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's I have to see what comes my way, because I could write, I have like some Afrofuturism stuff I want to do. I have, martial arts film I want to do. But, if I don't have the funds to do it, then I have to pivot and do something else.
Mm-hmm.
So, I feel like I have some versatility, and, whatever money I can raise, then I'll just, suit, the script to fit that. And, hopefully I could shoot something within like the next 2-3 years.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, keep it up the work, the great work, because you got it. So, so glad that you could join us today, and we are going to be sending you your awards. So keep an eye out for those, and for emails from me, or from Alice, who has been wonderful. I'm also going to think. I don't think anybody else is joining us today, so I'm going to wrap up with my thanks for all of our sponsors. Of course, Ultimate_wireless_LLC on IG. Ultimate Wireless. Of course, we want to thank our Afro Comic Con founders, Michael James and Halle Bella, who are carrying the torch on the other side with the big festival. They're like over 50 panels. So if things are a little bit shaky, give it some time, because they have programmed so much stuff for you audiences. So definitely give them some grace and hang in there with the other panels and things of that nature. Also like to thank my assistants, Alice Baj. She was assistant Alice Baj. She was fantastic. My graphic designer, Taylor McGee, who was amazing. Norman Rich, who of course is the producer and also one of the sponsors, Lighthouse Strategic Group. In addition to NMPA, Black Press USA, who are one of the sponsors, and of course Pixar is a sponsor as well. And then last but not least, of course, is the finalists, all of the film finalists. We are so happy and so proud of you and the great work that you're doing now and that you will do in the future, and everyone who actually submitted to the festival. So we just want to say good luck, keep moving, keep making it happen. And remember Afro Comic Con. Hopefully we'll be back in person in Oakland, the Bay Area, next year. But if not, we'll be back online and making it happen again. So lots of shout outs on the comment section to the filmmakers. Viewers were happy. They loved your work. So please remember that you have an audience and that people like your work, and please keep going. Because we need more Black filmmakers and creators and things of that nature, people of that nature, and our stories to be told and elevated from throughout the diaspora, including Morocco. So thank you. And I am your festival director, curator, Dr. Nsenga Burton, and I am signing off, and enjoy the rest of the festival. Afro Comic Con 2020, virtual. Have a great weekend.